Woo, groovy on a Monday morning tune. Good morning to you. If you're just rising, good morning, risers.
Hey, guys.
Thank you so very much for being here. Of course, to our YouTube family, good morning. Please remember to hit the like and the subscribe button. And always do remember to spread the word. Those of you in TV land, morning, Odie. Thank you. Howdy do. Big ups to you. And thank you for joining us this morning. Now, from the impact on remittances and trade tariffs to currency fluctuations and investment opportunities, we're unpacking how shifts in the U.S. policy could ripple down to affect businesses, households, and even your very wallet here in Jamaica. We're connecting the dots between the U.S. politics and local economics with Sir Carlton this morning as we are, looking at how the Donald Trump victory in the recently held U.S. elections could mean, what it could mean for our personal finances. Sir Carlton is here to break down the billions, Carlton.
It's a lot this morning,
Yes.
so we can't cover every single thing because we only have a small amount of time.
Heavy macro econ. All right, let's go.
Very, very heavy
Yes.
econ this morning. Let's jump right into it. I wish I could do what Dennis would normally do and go to my Trump voice. With Trump slated to be the 47th president yet again, another president of the U.S. Several interviews and some policies, he goes around and he uses this word very, very often. Tariffs.
Dennis,
Tariffs.
The tariffs.
We have the best one.
Yeah, we have to impose some more tariffs.
They're getting away with too much.
And to crack down on immigration and illegal immigrants and etc. like that. So for this morning, looking at those 2 points to see how can this impact our finances locally here in Jamaica. So what? Let us understand what are tariffs or what is tariff. So it's really a tax or a fee that is imposed by a government on imported goods or services. So you may ask, so what? Bear in mind that Jamaica exports goods, services, etc. to the US, right? So look at this little diagram. We are here in Jamaica. Over this side, we have goods right here that we want to get into the US. This is an imaginary line that we just put here. This represents the tariff. So for example, the tariff is 50%. When the companies here in Jamaica want to get their goods into the US, they generally would price their goods so it can be competitive in the US. So if the good in the US costs $10, obviously getting your good into the US, you want to get it at maybe $10, a little bit lower than the $10. When a tariff is imposed, for example, in this example, 50%, the $10 good now, after the tariff is paid, it now becomes $15 in the US. What that does now is one of two things. Drive down the demand of your particular product, or person just, whatever, let me just move on, or find something which is
a luxury item.
It's not a luxury item because it's more expensive than what is in their local market.
Right.
But let's look at your saying, Carlton, so what? Why? Fact, export to the US from Jamaica was about $1.5 billion US dollars. That's $1 billion I'm saying, of which 42% represented export to the US. That's about 190 million roughly thereabout. But so it's a significant amount of export that goes from Jamaica into the US.
Right.
So if it is that tariffs are imposed and we're not sure where and when and how, if this is actually done, then we see the impact.
Because I was thinking that, I mean, a lot of his policies are geared towards protecting the U.S. economy from its major competitors who are exporting things to the U.S. that the U.S. already produces, stuff like cars from China.
China.
So, I mean, we're not exporting anything to the U.S. that the U.S. afraid of.
All right.
Yeah, but tariffs could impact us because other countries are also importing things that we are. And if the tariffs are high on our side, then I could just get it from Cambodia and just not bother with your thing.
Because what they've mentioned in a couple of interviews is that while they may impose maybe 60% on China or countries that they are having a challenge with, they may do, and they said it in interviews, maybe a 10% on every other country on some items. So we're not sure. In recent time, they did that on steel. Luckily, we're not a major exporter of steel and aluminum like that anymore to the US, but just peradventure that generally comes for maybe the majority of things that we are exporting or some of the things, it can have an impact.
Yes.
So we're not sure what direction it will go. Yes, it can be a challenge. What are the impact? Number one, reduction in export.
Yes.
Number 2, reduction in demand. Number 3, reduce of the US currency that we would normally get as a result of our export. Number 4, impact on a particular sector. So if a particular sector export a particular number of things that can impact that sector and in turn that company. So, for example, you, Miss Kitty or Dennis, you invest in a company that exports things to the US and the revenue is now cut. That means the stock price goes down here locally as well. So that can sometimes happen if a particular entity that you invest in export a particular item to the US that, tariffs are impacted on. Jump over to number 2, which is a crackdown on the immigrants. So another person
the illegals.
The illegals, they never come back home because some got send them home, and I've seen a lot of that online. But it can have an impact, and it will have an impact if that is happening. How will that impact you and or I as a country?
Look at it.
All right, we jump down to remittance.
Would you say things change? No, sister, life hard.
Why you never send your money come my yard?
All right. Yes.
What are remittances? This is usually money transferred person to person across borders. All right. So you're in the US and you're sending money locally to your family for different things, to help pay them loan, to live a better life, to build a house, to send the kids back to school. Money comes back to Jamaica a whole lot. Look at some facts. 1.5 million Jamaicans live in the US. About 500,000 of these 1.5 Jamaicans don't have legal status, approximately. Yeah? Wow. So they are either married to somebody to get it, they're in the process of doing it, but they don't really have it as yet. That's 500,000 people. Look at how much money is coming into Jamaica. Based on the BOJ's remittance bulletin, as at August, $280 million in remittance came to Jamaica, of which 68% of that was from the US only. So the major remittance that comes into Jamaica is from where? The US. So if it is that we have 500,000 people.
Remittances is a major source
of
foreign exchange.
Major
remittances,
source.
tourism. We are a heavily remittance dependent economy. Because our people leave and run their households from abroad.
From overseas. We have another person we know, we call them barrel children. The mother and father go overseas, go work, pack your barrel, send your money, come down. Sometimes they are legal, sometimes the reality is they are illegal, meaning they don't have their legal statuses in the country. So we look at work and do them thing. But what is the impact locally here now? Number 1, less income. The families locally, there's less income to do things. You have less disposable income. So if you have reduced income, you have less money to maybe now save and invest and enjoy the luxuries. Number 2, you have reduction in your consumer spending. If you have less money to spend, it will impact the economy locally. Because if you don't have enough money to spend, that may go and borrow more now. Things will happen. Inflation may go up as a result of that. And number 3, it will have impact on businesses, because if you are spending less money on particular items, businesses locally will have a reduction in revenue because we don't have enough money to actually spend. So if you look at what is happening, you may think that it not going to affect me. My mother legal, my uncle legal, things are happening here and there. If Trump wanted to impose tariffs, so what? But the harsh reality is it boils back down somewhat if it goes in this direction to impact the economy, which in turn impact you or vice versa, impacting you within the
We could also do some things that benefit the small island developing states. We don't know. We'll watch and see.
So we're hoping, keep our fingers crossed.
He's not very different than he was in 2016. And I don't think that in 2016 his term, that 4-year term, 2016 to 2020, negatively impacted.
But he's coming back now with a stronger immigration clampdown, which could adversely affect us.
Because the Biden administration was very much in. So relax it.
Relax. I'm going to cry for that.
So Biden came with the Brooklaks and he's going to come with the D-lax.
But it is that we want to get much more to see the positive side as well that you mentioned. We don't have enough time this morning, but it's happening, things are happening and changing, and if you need more clarity, you know where to find me. It's Carlton G Stew across all platforms. It's not really finance and money, it's more some econ, but we're jumping at
econ has to be econing, because a lot of people will think, oh, but a foreign, why do we care? Why are we talking about it?
Exactly.
Because remember, when them catch a cold and sneeze, we catch cold. When them sneeze, we catch a cold. And what goes on overseas can affect us and impact us. So we have to talk about it and put it into perspective.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Carl.
As always, a pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, in case you don't know, CVM School Fest is still on, and this week it's Anti-Gang Week.
That's right.
be sure to stay with us right here after this break to get the details. Stay with us. We'll be right back.